have also been standout players. Seneko is always solid. Dendi has seemed to step up his game as well, but they're also going back to the way they used to play, where they're actually prioritizing him a lot during the laning phase.
Right.
They're not letting him get bullied anymore. You know, we're not seeing as many rotations be successful, and Seneko and Artstyle together are helping to control that early game tempo. Then you have General, who somehow, and I have no idea how he does it, but he always manages to kill the enemy safe lane as Batrider in every game that I've seen.
Every single time.
It is actually ridiculous how he always makes that happen. And I used to think that Dendi was the guy that you look to have the star power to kind of carry you in the game. But to be honest, I think General is showing more and more that he also has a very good kind of pull to him. It's like he creates so much space in his offlane that I think he's easily maybe 1, 2, second or third best offlaner right now in EU. I wouldn't even go... Yeah, I wouldn't put it past him. I think he's just an absolute monster.
He does seem like he's one of those things that has to constantly be accounted for. You know, one of those guys you can't be like, okay, we have a pretty safe lane up against General. He'll get his thing. You can't turn your back on it. You have to constantly be ready to adjust, constantly be ready to come back. Opening up the draft, we can see MVP have banned out the dual junglers of Chin and Enchantress, not wanting to let Artstyle get things moving at his pace. Na'Vi, though, taking out the Nature's Prophet and the Bristleback. Doom picked up first for MVP.
Yeah, the Nature's Prophet is just a 4-ev ban. You can't, like, his icon is literally Nature's Prophet. You don't want to give him the hero. Even at Shanghai, MVP were making a strong case for not ever letting them get that hero, so it totally makes sense. Bristleback is also a comfort zone pick for them. They have been known to run IO a lot in the past with other heroes as well, but Bristleback is the most common pairing. And I think that Na'Vi were watching the game yesterday that they played and just said, yeah, we probably don't want to deal with that at all. And this is a hero that has only been let through 2 times in the entire tournament so far. We're going to see the Lich taken up by Na'Vi. Every single team, barring EG, and now I guess MVP, have decided to ban that. And we've seen how powerful it can be. With a new weight of golden experience on the range creep, you can dominate one lane so much harder than you used to. And they get Beastmaster for General, not going for the Batrider because they know that the Vision counterpick is really important. And for them especially, I think that Na'Vi are a team who function around Vision more so than probably most teams right now.
Well, the Lich pickup, man, like you said, it's one of those heroes that was immediately identified because of the experience change in the range creep as being one of the broken things, one of the things everyone expected to be seeing him right out the gate as something that was going to be banned and moved away from or tried to avoid at the very least. I mean, the hero has always kind of had that factor to him where he could just go win one lane. He's just going to go there and win it. It's a question of, is he able to transition? Is he able to make things happen on the back of that? And has that question been answered for the Lich? I mean, yes, he can win a lane harder. He's going to find his level. His level's much quicker off of the deny experience in the range creep. But is he still a hero that, outside of that, is able to pull his...
In a game where you want to still try as hard as you can to win lanes, and we also emphasize the importance of that talking a little bit earlier, that being able to win your lanes with a lineup that can also kind of transition into push, and just seeing a little bit of respect band towards that, MVP take out the Lycan, just saying, okay, you already have Beastmaster, we know Ditchera is a comfort zone pick in the Lycan, we don't want to give you that opportunity, and the Lich can absolutely help you win the lanes hard enough to be able to just go down, hit every single tower on the map if you want to go really fast, or you can play a slow-paced game, use the Hawk Vision to your advantage, maybe pick another sort of initiation hero that you can go to. But I just want to speak a bit about MVP's response in still taking the IO, and I think it's actually a stroke of brilliance from them, because if you are playing against Beastmaster and know that Na'Vi would definitely play both of the heroes if they had the opportunity, not only is it a good way to answer the greed of the Lich, which is obviously a very greedy pick in its own right, but it also means that the Beastmaster Vision is not going to be as impactful because you don't have Relocate and a partner with it. So normally you have like a Bat or a Wisp, or a Beastmaster and a Wisp, or anything that brings some sort of initiation to the table and Vision to make the IO more powerful, but they're denying Na'Vi the opportunity of getting that combination together in the first place by second picking it. Now you could also say that they were kind of forced into that situation, but I still think the MVP are going to be okay with that, because I think the IO and the Doom opening is quite strong. And it looks like Na'Vi are going to go ahead and pick up the Witch Doctor, which is just a solid overall support.
Yep. Well, the interesting thing to me that jumps out immediately is with Na'Vi, they didn't ban out any of the typical IO partners. You didn't see a Tiny ban. You didn't see a Juggernaut ban. Or not a Juggernaut, but a an Ursa ban even. You didn't see a Chaos Knight ban if you wanted to go old school, which we've actually been seeing that combination be played here and there. And the Alchemist picked up now.
This is like the greediest thing I've ever seen in my life, by the way.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking
Doom
the same.
IO Alchemist is just like greed, greed, more greed. But it's okay, because if you look at Navi's lineup right now, and we spoke about this on the panel, you can't really directly pressure lanes with Lich. All you can do is idly deny farm. That is your job. You're not going to be able to punish the IO because you don't have the supports to roam around and actually do anything to him. So it's going to be up to General to see if he can actually make anything happen in that regard, because I'm assuming the Wisp is going to be top, or maybe MVP Phoenix go back and decide they want to run an aggressive duel off lane. Right. Not having seen Navi's safe laner, it's a bit early to call, but it is a possibility. I think the MVP have found a really interesting answer for that hero in particular, because Lich is not really going to help you mid-game against Alchemist if the hero is getting free farm. And even if you are denying like one creep a wave, with the Goblin's Greed, the extra gold from the Bounty Runes and whatnot, if this is a mid-Alchemist, then he's still going to get a tremendous amount of farm. Now, that's still to be seen, because we haven't seen the last two picks of MVP Phoenix. But Navi, they do have the Witch Doctor. It's good against the IO. But Doom and Alchemist, like, Witch Doctor is going to have such a hard time dealing with these two really tanky frontliners inside of a fight. And up until this point, they still really only have two reliable disables. Right. So I'm kind of worried for Navi's damage output, and it seems like they were as well, because they decided to go back for the TA, which against two low armor, high health heroes is fantastic. But they're going to need to really focus on helping Dendi in his lanes.
Well, yesterday, whenever we saw EG let the Lich pick go, they first picked an Enigma to try to out-greed it, basically. Would you say this is kind of the same thing, except a little more extreme? Yeah,
same
it
idea.
seems like they're going even further in that direction. Like, we didn't see it work out for EG yesterday. Do you think that was because it was a half measure and they didn't go full greed like we're seeing now?
I don't think it was necessarily a half measure. I think that MVP Phoenix actually just played so well around the Black Hole cooldowns, because Fear was forced into this really defensive posturing during that game, and every time Black Hole was on cooldown with the Bristleback and the IO, MVP Phoenix were like, all right, we're going to go, we're going to go, we're going to go. But Navi aren't as cooldown reliant. The longest cooldown they really have to worry about in the early game is like Chain Frost, which sure, it's useful, but it's not as impactful as something like that Black Hole, so they can fight more frequently. And so can MVP Phoenix, so it's just going to be, like we were talking about before the draft even kicked off, a lot of vying for lane control, a lot of aggression, and probably on Navi's side even more so, because their heroes right now, you do not want to go into a later stage of the game, I think, against what MVP Phoenix have, because you're going to be able to give Earth Spirit Aghanims, Doom Aghanims at some point. You know, you just have to think about this ultra late game scenario, which could very easily devolve into, because neither team really has amazing push potential.
Especially with all the changes.
We're back to talk a little bit about the tail bit of the draft. We're not fired, don't worry.
I know.
But yes.
I thought they were just taking work away from me. Like, I was like, easiest gig of my life, you know? I don't even gotta do panels anymore.
It's all good.
Yeah.
So,
showed up to look pretty.
4 picks in the draft.
Yep.
I want to hear from you guys. How do you feel about the picks so far? We have a Lich picked up together with the Templar Assassin on the side of Navi, so we finally maybe get to see the Hurricane Pike on the Templar Assassin, which has been famed a lot.
Yep.
And on the other side, we've got yourself the Doom IO with the Alchemist, and mostly Alchemist I want to talk about, because, I mean, he kind of got nerfed, you mentioned just now, slightly, with the
well, I want to say that he got nerfed a little bit, because you want to get level 2 as fast as you can in that mid lane, and so you can have the acid spray to work with, but he could have the Wisp now to help him in the mid lane if he's going to, help out, because it's the Lich. I think the Lich is just going to constantly follow the Alchemist around and deny as much farm as he can. And so you might have to go back into the jungle a lot, maybe stack up for your Alchemist.
Well, the last
picks are just like, they're just like fly by.
You've got this Darkseid plus Doom though, who can put a lot of pressure on the lanes, I feel. That's kind of me is like the linchpin of this draft, where you've got this Iron Shell Doom who can like run in, Infernal Blade people. So we'll see.
Marana is picked up by Navi, so perhaps we're going to see the Sumail type of Marana. It will be Digirah, but though perhaps he will go for Aghanims. That would be fun to see.
He played one game yesterday of this. He went for a standard build with Maelstrom,
Maelstrom into
Dragonlance,
He went to go Dragonlance.
Different time.
And then Scotty.
Yeah.
He went Maelstrom, Dragonlance, and back to Mjolnir into Scotty.
So, what do you think? Who's going to take this first game? First game of the best of 3 series. We're in the winner's bracket.
I think I'm slightly leaning Navi's way. I think MVP a bit on the greedy side, and I don't know if they're going to get away with it.
They have Wisp for MVP, but I do want to stick with Navi, though. I do think they're going to make this round and work out and the TA.
Okay. Well, we've already heard a lot about what our commentators think, but we haven't heard enough.
No, we need more.
We want to hear more. AC and Draskell have fun with Na'Vi versus MVP Phoenix.
Well, we're underway, ladies and gentlemen. It's counted down here in the stadium. We're about 45 seconds away from the beginning of Game 1 here on Day 2 of WePlay Season 3. We're through the group stage now and into the nitty-gritty. Na'Vi taking on MVP. So we've broken down the draft. We've looked at the overall gestalt of what we think we're going to see. Well, we've got 25 seconds left here, Draskell. How do you think the lanes are going to shape up? Give me a quick just point by point on each lane.
I'm assuming the Alka is just going to be mid. I would not be surprised to see Febby kind of hanging around here as we're going to see Ditchera. He's going to be forced to skill leap, but he'll be all right. I think the biggest thing is making sure that QO gets as many bounty runes as possible, and to ensure that happens, I think the IO really needs to be helping stack and whatnot. Dubu?
Here we go. They're going to engage. Ditchera in some trouble. There's a cast that gets a couple of good bounces. The Ion Shelter didn't work. And Ditchera, an easy first blood as Febby with the IO, able to get blood on the soil to start things off.
That is so nice for him.
Yeah, I mean, like you were saying, man. I mean, you've got three heroes that are very, very greedy. The IO, you know, is kind of greedy in the sense that it's easy to punish, but now with the first blood, he's already halfway to level 2. Great start. The
problem with Navi's draft, again, is their lanes are going to be extremely static. So they need to make sure that their lanes are going to just straight up crush. Now, TA Lich versus a Wisp and an Alchemist, you kind of have to give the nod to Na'Vi and just assuming this lane is going to do well. But again, it's all about the sustain of Febby. Him getting that first blood means he gets the bottle instantly. And not only that, but he's very close to being able to buy boots on top of it. For a Wisp, that is the ideal start. It means you're not going to be as susceptible to getting killed in the early game because you have the bonus movement speed, you can go to runes, you can keep QO in lane farming for as long as humanly possible. And once that acid spray starts coming out, you're not really going to be able to do much in the way of aggression. You just have to hope that the farm deny is going to be enough.
Well, this mid lane, we'll keep an eye on it here and there. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on up the top. You can see General playing very aggressive as always, trading blows. Dubu unable to block him out, and MP making his way over. But General getting a fair amount of experience. It's going to be a creep wave safely under his own tower. He'll be able to pull back and farm. Once again, just another great start for the Na'Vi offlaner.
He always does this too. He just loves to pressure as much as he can. He tries to make the enemy's safe lane react and almost overreact in a lot of cases because of just how aggressive he likes to be in these matchups. But against the Doom, we haven't seen this matchup too often, but with Infernal Blade, I think he'll probably be struggling a bit. It just does so much damage, and he kind of has this ability to joust you where he goes in, uses the Infernal Blade, and then General can't really take the trade anymore because the damage is already dealt, and the Doom can just walk it off. So I think in some ways this lane will be a struggle for him.
There's going to be a roll trying to catch him. Yeah, he's in trouble. Being chased out by MP. MP does not have a point in Scorched Earthwind. 1 point Devour and 1 point into his E. So he's going to make it away that time, and happily so. How about the bottom lane? We've got Ditchera farming up on our Mirana and taking on Forev out in the off lane with the Darkseer. He's already level 3.5, 3 3/4, give or take. So Seneko unable to adequately pressure him out of lane. Going pretty well for him.
Yeah, it's not too bad. I mean, Darkseer is really hard to isolate, and middle lane, they're just like running at Na'Vi. And this is what I was talking about. The acid spray is such a hard thing for both of these heroes to deal with because you can't fight inside of it.
Right.
You don't have any way of sustaining, and that makes it really hard to directly pressure the Alchemist. And not only that, but no other hero is going to roam. Seneko needs to play it as greedy as he can to try to hit level 6 so he can have Death Ward and be relatively useful during the mid game. And then Ditchera, obviously, he's safe lane, so he's not going to be making any rotations either. It's a little bit questionable right now for Na'Vi. Like, their lanes need to be doing well, but it doesn't really seem like, in layman's terms, they're not, in my opinion, doing enough right now.
Right. Well, General's going to get, again, some more creeps. He's up to level 4 now on this Beastmaster. Level 4 at 3.5 minutes, and then short of 3.5 minutes. Out in the off lane, not too bad a start for the standout. Taking a look at the overall CS, we can see Mirana sitting atop the board at 19 for now. TA in mid, sitting at 16, and Io just suiciding himself to a neutral creep there. After that, it kind of falls off. Doom's at 15, 10 for the Darkseer and the Beastmaster, so it's actually pretty damn even, man.
Yeah, more or less. The only one who's really suffering this game, and to be expected, is QO. He doesn't have much CS because he's up against a Lich, obviously, and that makes things a little bit problematic. But during the mid game, as long as they're allowed to secure some runes, it should be all right.
And here we go, engaging on a Febby. Artstyle's there. There will be the tether to get him back to safety, hooking back up with QO.
I like this move from Na'Vi. They realize how important the runes are to this middle lane of MVP, so they're just trying to do everything in their power to make sure that they at least deny one. Because if for whatever reason Febby is able to get 2 runes, things just become really problematic, and even swapping the bottle there to make sure that QO gets the benefit of the bounty rune, just maximizing their efficiency here. But yeah, Na'Vi, they're doing quite well in middle lane, but that's the one lane where you look to and you're like, okay, this lane pretty much has to win.
Right. Well, everything's staying pretty quiet for the moment. Like you set up, they may go for a dive. No, thought better of it. Good call to make as the TP was coming in as well. Lich now rotating up to help General out up at the top lane. And they're going to do a fair amount of damage here to the MP. General, though, in no shape to do battle. Short of his level 6, only about a quarter health bar. But so you said earlier, just a moment ago, that you don't feel like Na'Vi's doing enough. What could they do to shore things up and to fix that?
I like the fact that they actually moved the Lich. That's one thing, because Dendy's already so far ahead in the middle lane that he probably doesn't need any help against this matchup. Like, he's not going to die, unless for whatever reason they get a really lucky rune like a haste or a DD, and maybe even then wouldn't be enough. But 4Ev would be in some trouble here.
Well, hang on, engagement at bottom, and they will be able to bring one down. And now chasing down Saneko, Dubu stunned from behind, and there's going to be the Mirana ulti, and they do manage to make it a double kill. For the hometown carry, Ditchira, Na'Vi springs into the lead, 2-1.
That was a really nice turnaround there from Na'Vi, and a little bit late on the reaction there, unfortunately, from the Earth Spirit. If he had been there maybe a second or two sooner, they could have turned that, because the Darkseer would have been able to deal more damage with the Ion Shell, feeling like he could actually go in. But a little bit of miscoordination there from MVP ends up costing him a couple of kills, and that's what Na'Vi need. They need to make sure that they're always focusing on winning the lanes, keeping the constant pressure on, and not letting MVP just farm.
Here we go. Unstable concoction. QO can't find the target. Stunned himself. Dindy's right there to capitalize. He's going to engage on the Febby. The Doom's there. Doom out onto the TA. Febby taking right clicks from behind. Artstyle trying to finish him out, and he will make it to the high ground. In the meantime, QO in trouble. They're going to hook back up. Dindy has to go to the high ground and will, but they're there to secure the kill. QO barely makes it away. One more auto attack. No, making 2. Barely able to survive. He dies under his own tower. Roar now on the MP, and Na'Vi wants to capitalize. That's going to be 3 for 1. As now really putting that early mid advantage to work. They lost Dindy in the process, but punishing MVP's greed. They're just not ready to fight yet, Drask.
Well, let's be honest, that was 5-man Dota. There was 5 heroes from Na'Vi in middle lane, and they didn't have 4Ev, no use of the Ion Shell, no vac wall or anything like that. Yep. It was just being outnumbered. Really, that was the problem there from MVP. But again, Na'Vi realized that they're under the gun. They need to consistently bring the fight to MVP, not let them just sit back, get gold on the Doom, get gold on the Alchemist, and, you know, it would have been nice if they could have contested the stacks that MVP have right now, because they're both gigantic.
Yep.
Like, there's a big stack in a large camp, there's a big stack in a medium camp, and they're just not really able to get there right now. And taking full advantage of this, QO is going to get a huge influx of gold. And regardless of how badly he did in lane, this is going to help him almost completely recover that just because of the use of Grievous Greed. So all things considered, oh, they are coming. Okay, here we go. Na'Vi want to contest this.
They're going to move up. Artstyle and Saneko just out of range.
They got a hawk, so they definitely know.
Now they're going to go. There's going to be the cast. They follow it up. Do they have the damage just with them? Dindy's there. Going to be a stun. Heal is there from Febby, but I don't think it's going to be enough. They can catch him anyway. He's just too fast. So Na'Vi, a bit of a missed opportunity that time. Everyone now beginning to converge on this point in the jungle. We may be in for more 5-man Dota. Arrow catches Io, and Artstyle immediately going to follow it up. And the kick is there from Dubu, but he has to pull back. Now the Unstable Concoction is charging her, throw down on the Dindy, but the refraction charges hold. MVP very lucky to make it away. Never mind, did not make it away. I was going to say make it away without losing anyone, and Ditchira using his ult to guarantee his own exit. So Na'Vi not getting as much as perhaps they could have, but still getting some.
I mean, all things considered, most of the stack was still taken there by the Alchemist. He finishes up his Armlet with that. He's almost level 6. And that's going to be the point where, you know, Armlet obviously gives 5 bonus armor now when activation is used. So that makes it even better for Alchemist, because before even just the 5 armor was a huge reason why people bought it, and just the influx of health you get from it due to the fact that it gives you that that's 25 strength bonus. But I think that QO is going to become significantly harder to deal with as soon as he just hits that level 6. Fortunately for Na'Vi though, they are getting a lot of kills, they're pressuring really hard, and Dendi is, I mean, almost 2 levels ahead of QO right now.
Well, speaking of levels, take a look at Febby. He's level 3,
yeah.
By far the lowest level on the map. He's a full, not a full 2 levels, about 1.5 levels, give or take, behind even the Earth Spirit and the Lich are both level 5. Seems like level 6 is absolutely essential for them. That's got to happen soon for them.
The thing about the IO with the Alchemist is the ganking potential isn't necessarily crazy. It's more just about the sustain, and I think that they maybe focused too much on denying the IO from Na'Vi and didn't think that they wanted an actual partner for the Wisp. They just wanted to take it away. And sometimes that happens, you know, you're just so caught up in trying to stop a team from doing something that you get in your own head, and the pick might not have been amazing, but you know, we haven't seen what he's able to do when he hits relocate level, and that'll be coming, I assume, in the next 4 to 5 minutes. And at that point, you know, you could see the Doom being relocated around. You could see maybe the Alchemist too.
Well, Dendi now going to work on a stack of his own. Picks up his treads and slowly clearing this out with the side blade. So his net worth should be taking off in a big way here shortly. And it seems like everyone's content to just sit back and farm a little bit. So we're exactly 10 minutes in. We see the Tome of Knowledge picked up for Na'Vi. What imagine we'll be seeing that come out on the other side as well, probably, or perhaps maybe, to catch up the IO. But the itemization so far, do you feel like teams are where they need to be with MVP grabbing the Vanguard even on the Doom, or do you think there is maybe a sense of urgency on one side or the other?
Na'Vi are the ones who always want to pressure. There's no question about that. Like, you don't pick Beastmaster to not control the map. I mean, General's going to have Book 1 soon at just around 11 minutes, which is still extremely fast. And then they're just going to want to keep fighting. And MVP just, they want time. Like, having the Vanguard on the Doom is great, and I think that the tankier they can make these frontline heroes, the better off they will be. But they do have to worry about this rotation here. It's healing the stack.
Na'Vi coming in from the south. There's going to be a good cast. Off goes the Chain Frost, who only gets 1 bounce, but the Death Ward is there. QO tough to bring down, using the Armlet toggle to buy himself some time. Don't think it's going to... Oh, wow! Dubu comes in just in time, and QO makes it away. In the meantime, Dendi is doomed. Looks like he should be able to survive here. It's going to be close, though. What a save. They only lose the IO on the side of MVP.
Man, Armlet toggle is OP.
Yeah.
Fortunately for him, Lich's attack projectile is extremely slow, so it makes it really easy to toggle the auto attacks, but still very well played there from the Alchemist. This is another reason why the Armlet is just so strong, because once he has it active, instead of only having, you know, 7 armor, he has 12. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but for a hero like Alchemist who has 2 base armor, 5 can be the difference maker right there, and I think it actually was.
Just anything, I mean, given the way his ult functions, anything that's going to just buy him a little bit of extra time. The regen itself will do most of the work. So 7-2 now, and Na'Vi taking a look at the overall net worth and XP earned. We can see they've earned themselves a bit of a lead. 12 minutes, 2K is nothing to scoff at, but certainly still within reach of MVP. And Arrow's going to miss, and I'm actually surprised Dubu didn't immediately roll up on that. But for now, what do you think is the play from MVP? Are you happy with this early game? I mean, obviously it could have gone better, but do you just continue to greed and rice it out, or?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think until QO gets another item, you're probably just going to be content to keep hitting creeps. And obviously just having a Vanguard and the Doom, it's okay, but you kind of want at least something else on top of that. It's a bit tricky for MVP right now because their laning phase did not go optimally. Of course, you were up against Lich TA middle lane and whatnot, and General got a lot out of his off lane, but we expected all of that because we know that MVP's lineup is greedy, and they have 3 extremely high CS heroes on top of it. So their game plan is still going all right. It's going to be the next, I would say, 5-10 minutes that really dictate who's going to win this game.
4-man push down at bottom. And Ditchera suspecting that things are not as they seem. Not going to fall for the bait, try to do anything. No reactions either, as at the top, Denny's going to take the last hit on the tier 1 top. It's actually going to be close. He'll have to tank things with the refraction charge. We do manage to bring it down, so they're just straight tier 1s.
I think in terms of trading, probably still better for MVP, honestly. because again, they're the ones who really want to avoid confrontations for a little while. So the fact that they're not having to fight head-to-head against Na'Vi, then that means they're not putting themselves in situations where Na'Vi can continually snowball with an early advantage that they have accrued for themselves. So not taking a fight, trading a tower, probably still okay for MVP. They're going to have to eventually start defending, though, because you can't just give Na'Vi everything, because then they start opening up Roshan opportunities. And when you have a Templar Assassin, that is going to be very high on the list of priorities for them.
Yeah, and that's kind of my question, too, is what's the next natural step? I mean, QO with 2,800 gold in the bank, his itemization can go literally in any direction he wants because he's going to be the richest hero on the map for the foreseeable future. Though it is worth mentioning, Ditchy has kept it very close at this stage. Picks up his own Dragon Lance as well as Aquila Tread, so he's ready for mid-game battle, but keeping it close with net worth. And Na'Vi, like you said, all about that pressure, but MVP has to have the timing in mind. What do you think it is? Is it an item? Is it just waiting for the right moment? How do you think they're approaching the next 10 minutes?
I think the 6 on Dubu is really important, which they already have. Obviously, having relocate on Febby is going to be huge. That's probably the last thing outside of Mech that they're waiting for. And Mech is just about done on 4Ev. So their timing is going to be really soon, probably within the next, 3 to 4 minutes, depending on how long it takes for Febby to actually hit his level 6. And when that happens, I think they will start trying to fight and they will start trying to defend. Because even though this draft from MVP is a little bit unorthodox, they still don't like sitting back and doing this kind of farm game, but they just realize that they have to, because they need to make sure that all the tools are available for them to actually take the fight against Na'Vi.
Well, Na'Vi has cleared out all tier 1s now, and map control certainly swinging in their favor. I'm really interested to see when MVP is going to try to flex their muscles a little bit, because Na'Vi right now is playing it about as well as I think you could ask. They're not giving up a lot.
Is he just going to go Radiance, though? That's my question.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that and be wrong, but I mean, what else are you saving 3,800 gold for?
That's kind of my question, too. I don't think Radiance is necessarily that bad, as long as you can defend high ground, and you have Darkseer, you have Acid Spray, and having Radiance on the Alk could help you prolong the game, I suppose.
Roar on a QO. This doesn't help. Oh my God, the regen is absolutely insane. Febby, not quite so fortunate. They do follow it up, and the Death Ward will finally secure the kill. Na'Vi having to invest a bit more into that than I think they would have liked, but happy to do so as they bring down the Alchemist. And the bounty, not super awesome, but still slowing down whatever item development he wanted. And in the meantime, it's about time for Dindy to add a Desolator to his own inventory. Mech out, though, for MVP coming out on the Darkseer.
Now just imagine if Febby was 6 there. He would have very easily been able to save QO. I don't think... Has he bought a tome yet? I don't think he did. No, he did. Never mind. Okay. He did buy one. So he's still not... or he wasn't level 6 for that gank, which is really unfortunate. And every time an Alchemist dies, it's really bad. Because every time, or every second he's not hitting creeps, you're not making use of any of the Grievel's Greed at all, and it's so impactful. So even if the kill on the hero itself is not worth a ton to Na'Vi, him being dead is worth more than enough.
MVP going to run right into General with their smoke. No, they actually went right by him. Now they're going to go ahead and roll on to Dindy. Excuse me, to Dubu. Now that is Dindy. Now the Doom onto Dindy. There's a vacuum back from Forev, and that's a great kill for them. They maybe could have gotten 1 or 2 as they literally walked right past General. But still, high priority, and that's a nice rebuttal kill after losing the Alchemist.
Yeah, they just didn't want to kill the Beastmaster over the TA. It makes more sense to go for the higher net worth hero in that situation.
Roar on to Forev. They want to try to get one of their own. Forev surging himself, trying to get away. Death Ward fresh off cooldown, and they'll secure another very nice kill. So Na'Vi is beginning to take a little bit of damage of their own, but for the most part, answering every counter blow MVP delivers.
Yeah, QO, though, is getting dangerously close to Radiance, so there's still a timer here. You're going to see a relocate as well.
Yep, down to bottom. And they're going to find Artstyle. Chasing him through the woods. Doesn't look like anyone's on the way. Mirana's ulti on cooldown, so it looks like... Oh, he's just going to TP away.
Yeah, he's out of there.
Is able to make it away very easily. And great play. Good heads up.
That was a little bit of a mistake, though, from Febby, because he actually walked into the tree line first, blocking QO. And unfortunately for the IO, he doesn't even have boots. So you have that wind lace, the tether movement speed, and all that jazz that you would normally have on the Alch. Maybe they would have killed him if the Alchemist was actually the first one into that little pathway. So unfortunate, they didn't get the kill. First relocate used, nothing really comes from it. But it does allow QO time to secure the money for his Radiance. And now it's really starting to become, Na'Vi... Okay, General just bought a book 3. He has a book 3 at 18 minutes.
That's crazy.
That's a bad thing for MVP. That's real bad. That means any hero that gets roared basically is either going to go out of mana. Why was the courier there?
Well, Lose the courier as well.
Yeah, well, interesting game so far. There's
Yeah.
a lot of random things happening, but Dragonlance, I guess, helping with that.
Yeah, a lot of random things happening, but most are seeming to favor the hometown favorites, as Na'Vi has opened up their lead now to 5,000 gold. And, you know, we were just talking leading up to the draft about how hard it is to build a gold lead. 5,018 is really not bad.
It's very good, actually. This is the kind of pace that Na'Vi need to keep. They need to keep making sure that they're forcing objectives, getting tier 1 towers, taking successful team fights, and MVP just haven't really had an answer because their team takes a little bit longer to get off the ground. Once things get rolling, sure, their team is very, very strong. Roshan's going to expertly dodge that arrow thrown by Ditchera. But this should be free Rosh, no real contention coming out from MVP. And even though the tower trade is okay in the terms of net worth, it's not really the greatest that MVP are going to have to worry about, again, avoiding Na'Vi. They just can't really fight right now.
Mass TPs, they want to go. Dindy's going to eat the unstable concoction. And up there's the dust in the low ground, Dubu, giving them a little bit of vision. Here we go, they're going to come on in. There's going to be a relocate out. That actually sent him down to bottom. And it looks like, yeah, they don't want a piece of this. Saneko is going to end up dropping in the midst of it all. But it's a 1-for-1 as they've taken down Dubu as well. And the IO is going to be forced back in. So just trying to make sure they protect that Alchemist. As you said, every minute he's down, so impactful. Didn't even try to fight it out. You think that was the right call to just abandon ship?
After seeing how much damage Earthstyle took, I mean, maybe. They're going to get a kill here on Febby as well after the relocate. There's not much a Wisp can do against that, unfortunately. You're just going to explode every single time. But the biggest thing was MP wasn't there, so not having Doom means that if you take the team fight, there's a high risk of the Alchemist dying. Losing that fight maybe gives Na'Vi even more of an advantage than they already have, and they just didn't want to take the risk of the snowball factor, so they just let it go. They're like, okay, we're going to lose, you know, maybe 1 or 2 heroes, but at the end of the day, we still got QO farming the map. But there is kind of a point where push comes to shove, and MVP are going to have to make a decision on, okay, we need to take at least one fight. We cannot let Na'Vi just run all over us forever, and I think that's going to start happening when the tier 2s are under siege.
Well, what's bizarre here is the difference in net worth is actually heading back in favor of MVP just because they bailed out on that fight.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It seems like, I mean, they're playing it out. It feels risky, but I think it's a lot less risky than how it feels to us watching at home. I mean, these pros have such an excellent sense of where they stand in their own itemization, their own development. Speaking of, the Doom picked up the Crimson Guard, so excellent to go there. And let's see if they want to try to, if General wants to try to lead the way here, as he's under cover of an invis. But yeah, I'm curious as to when we're going to see that okay, this is the moment kind of a go.
It could be now, honestly. They're smoking
there's
around.
Roar on the Farev. Farev just brought down before the fight even really gets going. They're going to come in. There's the Magnetize from Dubu. Good damage being done, but do they actually have it enough to finish it off? Artstyle is next to drop. Now Dindy's going to end up losing the Aegis. General has nothing left in the tank. Very little mana. Deploys the Necro book, but it's not going to matter. He's going to be chased down and cut down as MVP bringing a silence to this crowd. Febby will end up being traded away. But if they can find Ditchera, nope, no dust, no nothing. Big win across the board that time, I think. Even though they lost 2 for MVP, that's a much bigger win than a 2 for 3 would seem to indicate.
That fight actually totally changes the complexity of this game.
Yep.
Or complexion, excuse me. It's one of those times where you think, okay, we've been winning the entire game. We have a huge power spike because our TA has like Desolator. You know, we got book 3 on Beastmaster. We're gonna be looking pretty good. And then all of a sudden, Doom comes out with a Crimson Guard. The Alchemist you can't really kill anymore because he has at least one item that gives him tankiness. The mischance coming out from the Radiance also helped a little bit in that team fight. And now all of a sudden, QO's got a full Manta and it's 22 minutes in. This is why I was so worried about Na'Vi not really doing enough.
Right.
Because this is the type of lineup where if you just sleep on them for too long and they're able to continue farming, they're going to get items so much faster than you that you will just be buried in a gold lead. And
Yep.
the sad part about it is that Navi's laning phase still went extremely well.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe even better than I thought it would, but it's still kind of leaning towards MVP going into this mid/late game. So Na'Vi need to figure out how are they going to be able to reestablish their map control, because after that, MVP are just farming everything. They're like, okay, we're going to farm mid, we're going to farm your woods, bottom lane. Having IO means that we can relocate QO to another side of the map, and then he can bot back if he wants to. Like, the options for MVP going forward are almost endless, whereas Na'Vi kind of are like, all right, we got a Mirana with a Dragonlance and a Manta, which is fine, but that ain't going to kill an Alchemist.
Right. Well, and it's odd whenever you look at their itemization, too. Like, the net worth overall, you've got no surprise QO sitting at the top, and then it's going to be 3 Na'Vi heroes that follow it up. But each of them have, you know, a fair amount of, like, the General as well as Dindy both have money tied up in a Blink Dagger, which in theory is really good if you can jump like an IO and blow him off the map. But everyone else is very, very strong. There's the Doom on the Ditch Your Raw. And like you said, man, just trying to kill him, such a tough road to hoe. They're going to try to re-engage Ditch Your Raw. Will be brought down. Seneko trying to use the Death Ward to his advantage, but it feels like they barely touched MVP. The Magnetize went off. Seneko trying to heal through it. But the rest of Na'Vi just has to run, and Dindy going to be pursued down from behind. There's going to be the Unstable Concoction. No follow-up, though, even though it did catch him on the high ground. But, yeah, that's a 3-0, my friend, and MVP still has all 5 standing. Only MP is actually below 90% health.
They can't fight. They literally cannot fight MVP right now. There's too much damage. Like Dubu having the level 2 Magnetize, you have to worry about Radiance Burn. There's Scorched Earth. The TA cannot stand in the fight without BKB. Unless Dendy has magic immunity, he will not be able to kill a single hero before he himself dies, because there's just so much residual AoE damage that he's taking that eats his refraction right away, and that's not even mentioning Ion Shell.
A vacuum on the Dindy. He's going to be silenced out. He's gone. Big kill there. He's down for 57 seconds. Does he have buyback? He does have buyback if they want to spend it. Doesn't look like that's the call right now. Seneko sitting at 15 seconds till Death Ward is up. Art Style, 50 seconds until he's able to throw his ult. Arrow's going to hit nothing but a creep. QO just running interference at this point, hanging around behind the tower. Na'Vi trying to force them back out. The Crimson Guard buff will expire. This might be their moment. And there's the cast, but Febby hooks back up with QO to try to keep him up and fighting. And they're just going to go ahead and use the Greaves through it, going back into the Tier 3. Wouldn't surprise me if they abandon ship after they just bring down the Tier 3 and just leave the racks for another day. They're going to hit Seneko with a bit of damage, but still no follow. There's a fair amount of damage up coming out of Na'Vi. There's going to be the Roar. Are they going to go in? Looks like QO is going to get back out in front. The Roar completely wasted that time. Nothing comes of it, and they're going to hang. Dindy's back up in 2 seconds. They really want to get this melee racks. We'll see if it's going to cost them. Na'Vi should be ready with most of their ultimates now. And yeah, never mind. There goes the Lich. He's down. Dit your Raw in general. Oh. Beautiful vacuum wall. They're sent running for the fountain. Magnetized there just for good measure. And MVP, just the amount of healing they have, the amount of regen. They are in such good shape and ready to fight. Death Ward's going to be thrown, but no follow. They do manage to bring down a Necro creep, and that's about it. And now MVP.
They can't do anything.
No.
Na'Vi just don't have damage. Like, it sounds crazy when you have like Templar Assassin, Book 3 Beastmaster, and you know, Death Ward, but they actually do not have the damage to kill MVP. Like, there's Ice Armor on the Doom. He's going for more armor on top of the Crimson Guard. He's going to go straight into his Shivas. The Alchemist has Radiance, Manta, and pretty much the Octarine on the way out right now, which means he's going to have almost permanent Chemical Rage. The timing for MVP is here. Like, it's only 26 minutes in. It doesn't seem like that long, but when you have these 3 cores that all farm at accelerated rates, like Darkseer can push waves really fast, Doom has Devour, Alchemist has Grievel's Greed, you need to be able to just absolutely smash them for the first 20 minutes of the game to win, or you run into this state.
Yep.
So I think that the TA pick is kind of a window opportunity. So we're going to see... wait, did they scan that? Yeah, okay. I guess it was a scan. That was weird. But you have this opportunity in the early part of the game, like 15, 20 minutes in, where you can pressure really hard with Na'Vi's heroes, and then the timing comes for MVP, where they just have way too much health, way too much armor. Like, this Alchemist has 28 armor and 2,400 health.
Shiva's out now on the Doom, too.
Yeah, this is... It's too much for Na'Vi right now. They need a perfect team fight. That is the only way they're going to kill any heroes.
I mean, at this point, like... I guess the one thing they have going for them, I mean, they've got a couple of buybacks and, you know, not a lot on MVP. Nope, they're just going to go ahead and go right in. They find Art Style. This is not the way you want to get that started. And he's down for the count. No buyback on Art Style.
And this is one of the biggest weaknesses of Lich. It's being showcased right here.
Yep. Is
that once the landing phase breaks down, unless you have just gleaned an enormous lead from that beginning state and the rest of your team is kind of carrying you, you don't do anything. So this is kind of why I was thinking before, you know, they're going to see a little bit of a trade here, I guess, from the side of Na'Vi. They're killing the base quite fast.
Yeah, trying to make something happen with it. Here comes the relocate in. General gets off the Roar onto QO. And now they're going to try to force him back. They're going to catch Ditch Your Raw. There's the leak. They did get the Doom off. Dindy's going to be spotted. Vacuum! Able to keep Dindy planted firm, and QO going to work on him now. And he's just going to stand and burn him down.
Middle lane as well, the cask.
And then mid lane, as you said, the battle's still raging. MP doing good damage. They do manage to bring down Febby. Saneko's going to end up being brought down now with Dubu hooking up with MP. General in some trouble as well. QO in the meantime did manage to finish off another kill. He's even picked up a Dagon.
Okay.
Make it a Dagon 3. Looks like money. Money to burn, my friend.
That's the we won Dagon right there.
Manor Dagon.
I mean, Na'Vi did everything they could there. They went for the split push. It seemed like it was working out pretty well, and then MVP just teleport back, and Na'Vi are in a state where they simply can't fight. They don't have the items. The item progression coming in from QO was way too fast. The Doom went, I think, probably the best possible build for this scenario when you know that you just need to be able to 5 versus 5 and make use of the fact that you have this magnetized, the vac wall, this insane amount of damage against supports and a TA without a BKB. You can't deal with it.
Well, looks like the GG push on the way now. Na'Vi will have their 3 that are down responding just in time for one last hurrah. And Ditcherod does manage to add a damage item, at least a attack speed and damage item to his inventory. BKB coming out late, but coming at least out at all for Dindy now. And you have to wonder if he just skipped Blink and gone straight to BKB, could this be a different story? There's going to be the vacuum, Ditcherod forced to leap. Just cleaning things out. There's going to be the Chain Frost. Shivas will be deployed. There's going to be a good Death Ward. However, the relocate is there. And now QO taking a fair amount of damage. They actually can bring him down. So it's a 1-for-1. And Na'Vi, for the moment, able to hold serve. As they're going to try to pursue out MVP, they're able to back up and get back on the same page. But now here's going to be coming the Alchemist straight back down mid lane. Dindy's overextended. Out by himself. No team there to help. And they bring him down with the help of 4F's vacuum. And Na'Vi looked like they were showing signs of life. Turns out to be just a death rattle. As the Alchemist now hooked back up. QO, phenomenal game for him. Dagon 3 helps out, I guess, for sieging high ground. I think this is going to be that, though.
Potentially, 40 seconds left on the TA. They could call GG here. I'm not sure, though, because they have a tier 2 in the top lane. But, if QO maybe didn't buy a Dagon 3, he might have had enough health to live through that. Who knows? But I'm sure it's fine. Even Manta's just to grief MP a little bit, make sure he gets hit by that arrow. All things considered, I really loved MVP's draft. Like, from the get-go, it's a really creative way of just directly dealing with the Lich. And it's also fantastic because the Earth Spirit makes TA such a hard hero to play in fights. Like, you want to pick TA because it's a really high physical damage burst hero, and on paper it's really great against what MVP we're picking. And then you remember that Earth Spirit has Magnetize, and there's an Ion Shell on the other team, and Darkseer was a last pick because the off lane for MVP was just completely ignored. They safe laned the Doom. So I kind of feel like Na'Vi might have been a little tricked by the Doom pick early and assuming that it was going to be somewhere else, and they picked supports that weren't as good at dealing with 4Ev in the offlane, and he was able to get still a huge chunk of farm. So really big credit to MVP for their draft this game. It's probably one of the more creative things that we've seen so far here at WePlay, and it's just worked phenomenally.
Well, this Roshan should just about be the final nail in the coffin for MVP, as you said, creative draft well executed. And let's look ahead while we can. I mean, you don't want to count a team out too far, but I mean, 2 sets of racks down given the massive gap in experience and gold.
I'm looking at the second game.
Yeah, okay, good.
This game is
I gotta
really
be careful. If you say it's time to look at the second game, that means I'm allowed to look at the second game. So, bouncing back from this, I mean, does Na'Vi maybe learn from this? There's going to be another kill. That will be them finding Febby that time. And now General, though, caught out, silenced out. Shiva's coming in. Not a worthwhile trade at all.
They just knew they had to try something. You know?
Why wouldn't
If you're going to go back on the road to recovery in this game, you need to be out on the map. You can't just sit in your base. Because for the same reasons we mentioned, if MVP have a game where both teams are just sitting around farming, MVP are always getting ahead. So Na'Vi knew that they needed to be the aggressors there. And a risk is a risk, but it's a necessary one.
QO using Dagon on the creep. Because the hell with that creep.
He needs that gold, dude.
Looks like they're going to go to work on the tier 2. Na'Vi not even going to try to contest it as expected. Okay, question I asked kind of in the middle of the fight there. Do you think it makes any difference at all if Dindy skips the Blink Dagger and maybe has his BKB out?
Oh, absolutely it does. Yep. The thing is, when you buy Blink, you need to make sure that you don't need the BKB for your high ground defense. And I think that's kind of the mistake that he made, just assuming that they would have more time. Because you buy Blink when you want to be active and you want to be able to get in somebody's face.
Art style getting too cute. Too close to the fire, and he will get off the Chain Frost though before he drops. That's going to be it. Arrow's going to split the wickets. Doesn't find a target. General roars at QO. Here comes Dindy. Force Staff though gets the Alchemist back to safety, and they're going to go ahead and chase him down. BKB now being shown by Dindy. They're going to try to kite this out a little bit. MP throughout the Doom, and Dindy can do nothing but fall back along with the rest of his team. Death Ward's on point. The damage just not enough. Seneko able to get a fair amount of damage done overall, but his team falling amidst this swarm. I mean, Jesus, the damage coming out of Ditchera is not to be trifled with, though, as he's able to bring them down very low. They're going to have to fall back in region at the very least. Here comes Dubo getting a little too brave, maybe. And all 5 still standing for MVP,
They're
though.
all
If they got,
so low.
I was going to say, if they got 1 full health bar between them, I'd be shocked. General, though, not quite as fortunate to have any kind of a health bar. He's sent packing. And the Glyph finally deployed. Buyback status is nil for their main damage dealer in Dindy, so he won't be back up for 25 more seconds. But just look at this, man. They had no health. Now look at QO. Now look at the rest of them. Another good vacuum wall caught too. Artstyle has to make a run for it. And, yep, finally tracked down. Buyback from Ditchera. He'll try to shoo them away as best he can, but I don't think it's going to matter. Everyone's just so damn tanky. And Ditchera overall had a pretty good game. But as he expires, Dindy's coming back up. He's down for not going to matter. GG.
Yeah, it was a really nice game from MVP. Na'Vi did everything they could, I think. It just comes to a certain point where you have to worry about so many heroes on MVP getting farmed that you just kind of become overwhelmed.
Right.
And then as soon as you lose that one fight, even if you're ahead by like 5, 10K golden experience like Na'Vi were at some stages in that game, all that it takes is one mistake. And then the game just becomes not necessarily unwinnable, but it's certainly not easy.
Right.
And I think this is a really good showing of how you can use Alchemist against at least these types of lineups when you have the Darkseer as well. Like the biggest thing for me was the TA